Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Love at First Scent. Whichever way you've decided to join me in, whether you're watching right now live on Facebook, or whether you're watching the video that will hopefully be put up permanently on Facebook, or whether you're watching on YouTube, you're very, very welcome. If you joined me last week, you may have heard me saying that I wasn't actually planning to put another video up quite so quickly, but I think actually having a look at my diary, I realised that there weren't going to be very many opportunities towards the end of this month to do another Facebook Live, so I thought I would just grab the opportunity to do episode 2 straight away. You can see a selection here of some of the scents that I might be covering today. I've already put out a little teaser on Instagram asking people if there are any particular ones of these that they would like me to cover today, and I've had a few responses. If there are any here that seem to be of interest to you, please let me know in a comment and I will see if I can cover them at some point within the next half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. Before we get started, for those of you who maybe are new to this, who haven't had a chance to watch episode 1 yet, the whole idea behind Love at First Scent is to kind of turn on its head what I would normally do when it comes to perfume appraisal, perfume writing. And by that, what I mean is that I like to take my time to make up my mind about a perfume. I like to wear it, go away, think about it, ask other people to wear it, smell it on other people. Obviously I have instant gut reactions, but I try to put them to one side, or I just make a note of first impression somewhere in a notebook. And I liked my written reviews on my blog to be a lot more measured, a lot more thoughtful. This is designed to sort of deliberately push me out of my comfort zone and really make me give you an instant response. And the ideal scenario, not always possible to achieve this, but the ideal scenario is for me to actually smell things here in front of you for the very first time, things that I've never ever sniffed before. We've got a couple here that are like that. On occasion I will break my rule and maybe smell things that I've smelt once before, or I've smelt quite some time ago, so that I can come to them fresh. But that's why it's called Love at First Scent, because the idea is just to see if there is anything that I find particularly interesting or noteworthy or praiseworthy in an initial smelling session. There have got to be a few caveats that go with that, a few qualifications. Obviously, we have to be fair to every single perfume. We have to see how it develops over time. We have to wear it on skin, etc., etc. But first impressions count as well, and this is all about first impressions. By the way, if you are watching either live or recorded, if you like what you see, please feel free to give me a thumbs up, or with the like buttons on Facebook. And if it's on YouTube, please consider giving me a like or subscribing to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. So, have I got all my things? I'm just going to make sure that the feed is going on here as well on my iPad, because if you do leave any comments or anything, I can't see them very easily on the camera. But if I get the feed going on the iPad, which I have just done, so bear with me. I have also got the official press releases for some of the perfumes that are here, but I promise I have not read them, or if I have, it's no more than a scan, because I very, very, very rarely read press releases before I actually smell or wear the perfumes. I don't like my judgment to be swayed too much by the press releases. Anyway, enough chatter. I think we should smell our first perfume. These 3 that you can just about make out here, the 3 from Zegna, Ermenegildo Zegna, arrived yesterday, and I was very excited when I got them, because I thought, brilliant, here are 3 which I have genuinely not smelt before. They will be perfect for Love at First Scent. I'm not sure we'll go through all 3 of them today. Depends. If you would particularly like me to go through all 3 of them, then I will. Let me know in a comment. The idea behind them, though, is that they are a trio based on or inspired by spices. Okay, that isn't the most novel concept in perfumery, but then originality isn't the be-all and end-all of everything anyway, and sometimes sound execution of an idea is just as worthy of a compliment. You can see they come in the standard Zegna boxes, and the one that I'm particularly drawn to, purely because of my own background, my own heritage, is this one called Persian Safran, because I think I can legitimately say that I know a thing or two about Persian saffron, especially the fact that it's better than Spanish saffron. But then ask a Spaniard and they'll probably tell you that Spanish saffron is better. Oh, interestingly, I'm actually getting a comment coming through on Instagram saying that somebody's watching me. That's handy. That was Merlina Sill saying she's watching well, I presume watching on Facebook, but she's just told me, or he's just told me through Instagram that they're watching. So you're very, very welcome. Right, Persian Safran. Let us have a look. I do like the Zegna bottles. Meaty, chunky, elegant bottles. Right, let's see what this smells like though. Saffron, when it's done well, is a beautiful note. Probably one of my favourite saffron or saffron inflected perfumes is Tom of Finland from État Libre d'Orange, which uses a fantastic saffron-like material called safraline, which may well be present in this one. I have no idea. Right, let us have a smell. Magnetized cap on the bottle. Okay. Now at this point you need me to say something because I'm happily smelling away. Okay, I'm finding myself kind of like, give me a room with this thing. Because this is naughty. I wasn't expecting that. Saffron most certainly has a sensuality to it, but I wouldn't say saffron smells funky, whereas this definitely does. This has been rolling around in the hay a little bit too long, the naughty thing. Okay, so far on paper the saffron note is very, very convincing. It's very dry, as it should be. It's somehow very burnt smelling, very rusty coloured. Something very, very parched about it. But I think the dirtier, more animalic facet is perhaps down to a cumin note, because there isn't very much about saffron that smells of cumin. One of the telltale signs that a perfume contains a cumin note is if it starts smelling a little bit like sweat, like human sweat, in an appealing way. And this definitely has got that down and dirty cumin feel to it, which actually works extremely well. I am going to be looking forward to giving this a skin wearing very, very soon. If any of you remember, it's still available actually, I don't know why I'm saying remember, the Bertrand Duchaufour composition for L'Artisan Parfumeur called Al Oud, which was their attempt to tap into the oud market. That perfume was actually much more about cumin than it was about oud, and this reminds me of that. This reminds me very much of L'Artisan Parfumeur's Al Oud, but with this saffron note brought into it. This is just on the right side of sleazy. This is the person at the other end of the cafe who's giving you a look which is either going to make you walk away from this cafe very soon or go up to them and ask them if they've got a problem or something, because this stuff means business. But it's good so far. there's definitely a floral note in there. Saffron tends to go very well with materials like rose and wood-like materials, and I'm sure there's an element of that in here. And again, another association that it calls to mind is, do any of you remember when Aramis did a series of perfumes that they called perfume calligraphy? One was a rose, and one was a saffron, and this reminds me of that as well, actually. But none of those had this dirty growl. This stuff is purring. This stuff is ready for action. And actually, quite a few of these Zegna Insensées perfumes have been unashamedly naughty. Right, at this point, we will take a look at what the press release says. Savor the spice, it says, with the latest collection from Zegna, Insensées Spice. Indulge in the rich aromatics from 3 handcrafted signature scents. Reassuring to know the perfumes weren't made by robots. Inspired by spice, vanilla and saffron. Crafted from prestigious spices, the Insensées Spice collection is the perfect blend of complexity and finesse to balance mystery, strength and magnetism. Yes, okay, what about this particular one? Right, Persian Safran. Dynastic, okay, powerful, effervescent. I wouldn't say this is effervescent. This is a little bit too composed, refined. It's actually quite sort of louche and sitting and letting the world's attention come to it. Anyway, let this piquant scent surround and consume you. Fair enough. Top notes of Zegna's cultivated bergamot blend middle notes of the most valuable spice in the world, saffron, to illuminate the senses. I like a press release that doesn't actually tell you very much and that just makes you, make up your own mind. That gets my approval. And interesting that they haven't made in the press release too much of a thing of the fact that this is naughty stuff. Fascinating. I wonder, any of you watching out there, are there any perfumes that come to mind when you think of something that's just a little bit wicked, a little bit dirty? I think, based on that one, we may actually come back to one of these, because the one that I've got lined up here is called Indian Spice. So that one doesn't actually name a particular spice. India can lay claim to lots of spices. And the one at the very bottom is called Bourbon Vanilla. I must admit, that is the one about which I'm the least excited, purely based on its name, because we have lots of very, very, very good vanillas out there. But who knows, that could be an interesting one. Maybe they've actually allowed vanilla to be presented in all its earthy, filthy glory. Right. This is intriguing. Perhaps I'll wear this later on. Okay. Time to break one of my rules and let you have, let you share with me the experience of smelling something that I have actually smelt once before, but very, very briefly. But this one I have to share with you because I was just so struck by its beauty. I don't have the proper bottle because this is a limited edition, which I believe is strictly limited to a run, I think, of 2,000 bottles. The brand on this occasion was only able to send me this still very, very generously sized sample. And this is the new limited edition from E Coudray. I've got a comment from Vanessa. Magnetized caps make such a beautiful difference. It makes regular perfume caps feel inferior. I do agree. There is something pretty cool about them, isn't there? I don't own any magnetized caps, but my husband does. I'm going to look into Persian Safran. Yeah, I think you should. I definitely think you should. That was... I feel like spraying that on skin right now, but I think that would kind of mess up this whole exercise. Anyway, going back to this one. This is the latest from E Coudray, the latest limited edition from Coudray, and it's simply called Ylang Ylang. And what I can tell you is that it's, in a way, a re-release, but it must also be a reinterpretation, a reformulation of a 70s scent that they did called Fetiche. This was gorgeous. I know that those of us who consider ourselves to be perfume geeks do like a bit of retro action in our perfumes, and I know a lot of perfumers get annoyed that perfume geeks keep getting hung up on this retro thing, almost as though we wish that all perfumes smelt like perfumes from the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. That is obviously an unrealistic expectation, because perfumes made in 2017 should smell like they're made in 2017, and they should cater to 21st century tastes. But having said all of that, it is nice when something properly retro comes along every now and then, and this does have that beautiful retro vibe. Now, it's very, very, very diffusive. Obviously, unfortunately, you can't smell it, but just those few sprays that I did on the blotter right now have already filled the space around me with just this most gorgeous texture of... If gold had the texture of velvet, it would smell like this. There is something wonderfully golden hued about it, and yet there is also something so velvety and cushiony and downy and soft to the touch, and you just have this aura surrounding you, and you want to settle into it, and you want to explore it, and you want to dive into it. It really, really is beautiful. It won't be to everybody's tastes because it is unashamedly retro. The floral isn't just Ylang Ylang, even though Ylang is quite prominent. And I always think of the difference between Ylang and Jasmine, even though they are quite similar to each other. To me, the difference between them is that Ylang has a stronger banana facet, and Jasmine tends to have a stronger tobacco facet. Jasmine tends to be dirtier and richer as well, I suppose. Ylang perhaps is sweeter, but even though this is unquestionably an Ylang Ylang scent, there are lots of other florals out there. I wouldn't be surprised if there are materials that are somehow related to rose and jasmine, and more delicate flowers like freesias and lilacs and sweet pea. But I guess the question is, what is it that makes me say that it's retro? The boldness of the floral note, and also the fact that the floral note, which actually ties in with the Persian Safran we just smelled, the floral note doesn't mind being dirty. It doesn't mind carrying a sense of intimacy. I think if you smelt this on a stranger, you'd imagine that you sort of got to know them a little bit better than you would had they not been wearing this perfume, if you see what I mean. It's almost as though it's letting you in on a little secret. But at the same time, it has a very, very French sophistication, a very French sheen, a very French polish. And somebody I was speaking to yesterday actually said that this flitting backwards and forwards between filth and cleanliness seems to be a kind of mini trend, something that's coming back into a few perfumes. We've seen it in Frederic Malle's Superstitious, which very, very much plays on that dirty, clean idea. You will see it in the latest release from Carthusia. Not this one, actually. It doesn't happen to be this one, but I may have a chance to talk about this one in a minute. And it's definitely here in this Ylang Ylang from Coudray. There are suggestions there of berries, perhaps raspberries, or maybe blackberries, something tart, something biting. But overall, actually, I hadn't planned this, but the Ylang Ylang, in a way, is like the feminine counterpart to the Zegna Persian Safran. Get these two in a room together, and sparks would fly, I think it's safe to say. And I would love to smell the Ylang Ylang on somebody else, but I have a feeling I probably then just wouldn't let them go. You know, that combination of something, a person or a work of art, that manages to be both beautiful in a refined way, and yet really fantastically filthy as well. I mean, this is... I started this video thinking it's really cold in this room. I don't feel cold anymore. It's wonderful. Let's see what the press material actually says. I hope I've got it here. Ylang Ylang, the newest launch from Coudray, is a subtle yet bewitching fragrance. I don't know if it's... I mean, certainly bewitching. Totally alluring. Definitely shades of Chanel No. 5. Joe Wang is asking if the live streaming is working. Oh dear, I hope it is. If you are watching this and if it's coming through, could somebody else please just tell me whether the video is actually working or not, because Joe is asking if it isn't working and I've got no way of confirming actually on my iPad. So perhaps we've had a bit of a freeze. Although actually I've got something up on my screen saying that we are live. Sorry, I'm just going to poke at you while I... Okay, Angeline's told me that it is working. Thank you very much. Oh, Kasia Kamińska, cześć, Kasiu. She's saying it's working as well. Okay, sorry, Joe. Maybe it's not working for you. Maybe you need to refresh whatever it is that you're using. But thanks for asking. Thanks for checking as well. Joe, I hope you managed to get back online. Sorry about that. What was I saying? I was saying that Ylang Ylang is not subtle, but definitely bewitching. This stuff is not subtle. This stuff isn't even trying to be subtle. That captures the elusive essence of Parisian chic. Yes, what is it? What is that French thing about perfume that is somehow different from an Italian thing or a Spanish thing? Definitely very, very different from an American thing, but that's easier to define. That's easier to quantify. I think American perfumes tend to be cleaner. I know that's a very simplistic explanation, but it's true. Apart from Youth Dew, let's talk about Youth Dew. That's not a clean one at all, but I love Youth Dew from Estee Lauder. Hints of rose, lily and iris, harmonise with an aromatic blend of sandalwood and vetiver. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this went down to a vetiver dry down. In the base, patchouli and spices give a lasting, enveloping warmth. The sorts of materials that you would expect to support a white floral note. Presented in an elegant lacquered black and pink hat box, this beautifully feminine limited edition makes the perfect gift. This is a poor substitute for not having the proper bottle, guys. Sorry, and you can probably Google this and check this out for yourselves online. But this is what it would look like. It would come in a hat box and it would be very, very pretty. Originally launched in 1978 as Fetiche, this extraordinary fragrance was one of Coudray's most well-loved classic scents. Not surprised. Today, Coudray is reaching back into the archives to relaunch this highly evocative fragrance. Only 2,000 bottles of this limited edition will be released worldwide and will be hugely sought after by lovers of the original. I am definitely letting Madame Persolaise have the sample. Actually, I shouldn't have told you that. That's really embarrassing. But no, I will definitely be letting her have that sample. This is classical and old-fashioned in the best possible way. And I wonder what fans of older versions of Chanel No. 5 would make of this, because a lot of people who used to love Chanel No. 5 in the 60s and the 70s say that it's lost some of its body. So it would be interesting to actually run this by fans of older versions of Chanel No. 5. I should just say, by the way, I'm still one of the world's biggest fans of No. 5. I think the way it's managed to keep up with contemporary tastes, just with a few gentle tweaks, is extraordinary. The people at Chanel definitely know what they're doing. So that was in no way meant to be a criticism of Chanel No. 5, because that is still one of my favourite perfumes to smell on Madame Persolaise. But this is really, really special. Really, really special. Right. A little bit of a teaser. At least two people on Instagram asked me if I could have a quick word about this, but I think I'm going to save this one for the end. Some of you may already have seen this, but I guess a lot of you probably haven't yet. It's a new Alien flanker, so if there are any Thierry Mugler fans out there, hang on, because we will do this one in a few minutes. But what shall we move on to next? Perhaps very, very, very quickly, another one that I have smelt before. I literally just want to spend no more than a couple of minutes mentioning this one. It's a limited edition from Diptyque. And I'm not a bottle person, but I was taken with the bottle for this one, just because quite a bit of thought has gone into it. Those of you who follow my Instagram will have seen me posting a picture of this bottle. The bulb atomizer always looks great. Not the most practical device in the world, because it's kind of all right if you want to spray it upon your person, but it comes a little bit harder if you want to spray on your hand, on your wrist. But the reason why it looks a little bit like a honeycomb is because the perfume is also actually meant to have a honey note in it to complement the main note that it's supposed to possess, which is a rose. And it is a really, really beautiful rose. I won't spray this one because I would like to move on to other things, and I can tell you exactly how it smells anyway. It smells, you know how you can have lots and lots of different sorts of roses. Roses can go all the way from sweet and gentle and innocent to really, really dark and dirty and funky and carnal. This is definitely towards the lighter end of the spectrum, and I think actually sometimes those lighter roses are more difficult to make convincing. If you stick loads of patchouli and vetiver and sandalwood materials, you can quite easily make a rose convincingly dark. But it's harder to make it lighter, I think, because you need a lot of good quality naturals, I think, and a very, very careful handling of the volatile notes. Some of you, if you're fans of Diptyque, a lot of you will be aware that for the last few years they've released a limited edition which they've called Insensées. Okay, and what happens is if they think there's been a particularly good harvest of a perfumery material, they think, do you know what, it would be really, really great if we actually built a perfume around this. And they reckoned that in 2016 there was a particularly good rose, so they bottled it in this rather fetching ornament. I feel a little bit bad mentioning it because I think it's actually become already quite difficult to obtain. The last time I looked on the Diptyque website, it actually said it was out of stock. But have a look, there may be other places where you can get it. The official information says that Essence Insensée is a collection inspired by the year's most exceptional grass harvest. This year, a field of glorious May roses inspired perfumer Fabrice Pellegrin's latest creation. Delicate, vivid and fragile, this luscious scent is made with the centifolia rose, which has become an elusive rarity on the French Riviera. On the skin, the scent is at once heady and refreshing, with hints of berries and honey. And you know what? I couldn't agree with that more. Spot on. Very, very, very good description, very accurate description of all of those scents out there. Right, if you have just tuned in, thank you very much indeed for doing so. If you're watching live, thanks very much indeed. If you're watching afterwards on Facebook, you're very welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much indeed. This is episode 2 of Love at First Scent, a series of videos that I will hopefully be doing at regular intervals. If you like what you're seeing, please consider giving me a thumbs up or a heart or whatever symbol Facebook throws up at you, because those things do count in sort of spreading the word and helping the video be seen by lots of other people. If you're watching on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and giving me a like. I'm just going to very quickly make sure that we are actually still live, because I had at least one viewer saying that he wasn't able to get the stream, but I think we're still okay. I think we're still good. Okay, what shall we smell next? Well, yesterday I went to the launch of the latest from Carthusia, or Carthusia. This brand has a fascinating history. It's the kind of history that you sort of start wondering when you hear the story whether it's entirely true, but you so desperately want it to be true because it is such a fantastic story. Some of you may be aware of the story of Carthusia. Anyway, apparently, the one thing that we do know for a fact is that in the late 40s, wait for the siren to go past, in the late 40s, in 1948, I believe, on the stunning Italian island of Capri, if you've never been, you must go, some Carthusian monks discovered, as monks tend to do, a book of old perfume recipes. And they got rather excited and they saw an opportunity And then they had to have special permission from the Pope to, I guess, effectively sell these recipes, or allowed them to be turned into the basis of a business. And so in the late 40s, the Carthusia brand, as we now know it, was born. They claim that every single one of the perfumes they release is, at least in some way, based on one of the old perfume formulae. Now, some of the formulae go back, I believe, to the sort of 15th, 16th, 17th centuries. And obviously in those days, methods of perfume creation were very, very different from what they are now. Synthetic materials, obviously, for a start, weren't available, and synthetic materials are used in today's Carthusia scents. But I guess the idea is that they try to trace back each of their current releases, their contemporary releases, to the germ of something that existed before. Yesterday in London, they released 2 new scents. One, unless I'm mistaken, I'll just look it up for you, was it called Carthusia Lady? I will have to find that in a second. But anyway, this is the one that I'm going to spray now. It's called Gelsomini Di Capri, which I'm pretty sure just means the jasmine of Capri. And so we've got a clue as to how it's going to smell. I did have an initial sniff of this at the press event, but smelling perfumes at press events is never ideal, because there are usually lots of other people there, and you can't give the perfume your full attention. But I was pleasantly impressed with this one, and I thought, okay, this would be a good one to share with you today. The usual Carthusia bottle, which at first glance actually looks as though it would just be a standard bottle, but then you can clearly see that it isn't, because it's actually got their name on the bottle. And if there was one thing that all of the Carthusia scents had in common, the ones which I smelt yesterday, it was that you really believed that they were created on an island where the sun is shining all the time, and even if it's not really shining all the time, it's shining at least 10 months of the year. They're all just infused with the sun. Anyway, this is the Gelsomini. Yeah, you see what I did? I can't help smiling. It's just, you're just there on the med, and the sun is shining, and everybody feels so relaxed because their skin's warmed. Can you tell it's a cold day in the UK today? Because their skin is just warmed by the rays of the sun, and the sky is blue, and there isn't a single cloud in the sky, and the espresso just tastes so much better. Yeah, this works. I'm going to give it some skin time, because my main question, smelling it on the blotter, and I'll describe it to you in a second. My main question is actually, how long will it last? Because this is the kind of composition that is quite tough to make long-lasting. But anyway, what am I getting? Yes, a jasmine, as the name suggests, but in contrast with the E Coudray Ylang Ylang, this is a jasmine that has been completely stripped of all of the funky, dirty, naughty elements. This is jasmine as, you know, insert the name of your favourite Disney princess, but maybe not a ditzy one. So this is jasmine as Snow White, or maybe actually somebody a little bit more elegant. Maybe this is jasmine as Sleeping Beauty. But what was the name of the princess in Aladdin? Was she called Jasmine? In which case, this is not Jasmine as Jasmine, if you get my meaning. Was she called Jasmine? I can't remember. Somebody tell me. Was the girl in Aladdin called Jasmine? So this is catching the scent of jasmine as you just walk past a jasmine plant. This is not a jasmine that is grabbing you, clamouring for attention. The scent is very much lifted by a breeze. Perhaps it carries a suggestion of sea spray, but that could just me being biased because I know which brand has released it. And the other thing that I need to mention as well, which is very important, one of the main things that hits you when you smell this, is that it is a jasmine very much lifted by citrus notes. Obviously, we associate citrus fruit with the warmer parts of Italy, and this just seems to have a beautiful blend of bergamot and lemon, tying in with the citrus facets of the jasmine. And you're just there. You can just hear, sorry, here come a load of cliches. You can just hear the Vespers going past. You can hear the loud, animated talk of the Italians. You can see the espressos being sipped. You can just see that very, very particular Italian style, that Italian version of chic, which is very, very different from maybe the slightly more conservative French version of chic. And there is a saline quality that comes through as well in the jasmine. It does work very, very well. And not that I would particularly want to spend a great deal of time talking about price when I do these videos, but the Carthusia perfumes, at least in the UK, are certainly what you would call accessibly priced. They most certainly reflect the quality and the attention to detail that you see from brands that charge 150, 160 pounds a bottle, and yet these are not priced anywhere near within that price range. In fact, I'm pretty sure that you can pick up 50 mils of a Carthusia for well under £100. I'm just going to shuffle through my notes to see whether I can tell you what the official blurb on this was. Okay. The other one that they that they released yesterday is called Carthusia Lady, and if you liked the sound of the Ylang Ylang from E Coudray, you should also check out the new Carthusia Lady from Carthusia, because they're very much soul sisters. Gelsomini Di Capri, this unique realization of the heady beauty of the Jasmine Blossom, opens with the zesty fizz of lemons and tangerine, warmed through with ginger and pepper. Ginger and pepper. Okay, I'll go along with ginger, but there definitely isn't that kind of black powdered quality that you get from an overtly peppery scent, like last year's superb black pepper from Comme des Garçons. Where was I? The leading lady is supported by a triumvirate of diaphanous notes: broom, orange blossom, and Ylang Ylang, that harmonise perfectly with the breathtaking luminosity of the jasmine flower. Luminosity is the word here. This really has that Mediterranean sun shining right through it, and that slightly saline, you just want to lick somebody's skin because they're tanning in the sun. That it's got that slightly lickable quality to it as well. The base is exquisite, and a lesson in simple sophistication with animalic labdanum and musk, tempered with cashmere wood and creamy vanilla, so not lots of musks in the base, I suppose then. Surprisingly piquant. And yes, that is true actually. This one is piquant, and you don't expect a jasmine scent to be piquant. You know how some of the Aqua Allegorias from Guerlain just managed to pull off a really, really simple trick and present a floral note in a way that just puts a spring in your step and a smile on your face. This feels like a really, really good, sunny, smiling, happy Aqua Allegoria from Guerlain, and that is meant as a genuine compliment. And I would also recommend the Carthusia Lady, at least for a test. Okay, so I think it's time we headed into outer space and tried the alien, because I will probably have to say goodbye quite hurriedly when I finish smelling this one, not because the scent is going to make me run away from you, but just because I will have to go. I will just say one last time, please consider doing a thumbs up or a heart if you're watching this. I would be very, very grateful. Do you remember, any of you, that I believe it was last year, that Mugler did a sort of exclusive flanker to Alien, and by exclusive I mean not available in all Mugler counters, and that one was supposed to be an Alien Oud. Ooh, there goes a thumbs up across the screen. Now, I wasn't quite so keen on that oud. I'm very, very fussy when it comes to ouds. I was very intrigued to see whether an oud note would work in the structure of Alien, because, of course, Alien being a huge musky jasmine, it should have taken the oud quite well. But I don't know if the oud that was used in that Alien was perhaps refined enough or smooth enough. Basically, I guess what I'm trying to say was that I think that the Alien oud was just too harsh for its own good, and it lost some of that appealing alienness. Thumbs up to Katarzyna Kamińska as well, thanks very much. We've got another flanker here. This is called Alien Musc Mystérieux, which I guess just means mysterious musk. I'm going to try and open this carefully in front of you because the packaging for this thing is just beyond ridiculously lavish. It feels like something that's been stolen from the set of the Mummy movies, because, you know, this bit comes off and then ta-da, that bit goes down, and there you have the alien in her glory, with the sort of, you know, reflective backing. I can't help thinking this is... there's definitely more than just a touch of tackiness here, but then Mugler don't hold back anyway, do they? I mean, their exclusive scents, the exceptions, they are not in the least bit tacky. But you know, this isn't exactly what you call a refined, elegant bottle, is it? So this one I have smelt before, but again, just very, very briefly. And I guess the main reason I'm doing it today is just because a few people asked me if I would. So here we go. Spray of the mysterious Alien Musk. Look at how messy this place is becoming. Okay. Suddenly I'm hearing Arabic being spoken around me. It is no surprise that of their main perfumes, the one that the Mugler people have chosen to make more Arabian in its flankers is Alien, because that jasmine woody musk structure was always going to lend itself more easily to Arabian styles than, for example, Angel, certainly than Womanity, because Womanity is just a whole weirdness of its own, which it's like the rest of the world still needs to catch up with Womanity, and then maybe one day we'll figure out what on earth kind of perfume it is and what style it is. And with this flanker as well, the Mugler people are making Alien more overtly Arabic. So they are amping up the woods, they are definitely putting heavier musks in there. But this one holds together, at least on the blotter at this stage, holds together much more convincingly. The oud Alien just felt like somebody had taken Alien and literally just rammed this oud into it, regardless of whether it was going to fit in there or not, just, you know, really shoehorning it in there. And I think you could tell, you could somehow still see the seams, and the whole thing just somehow didn't convince. This is what it says in its name, at least the musk part. I'm not sure it's particularly mysterious. It's perhaps a little bit too grand, a bit too big, a bit too showy and attention-grabbing to be mysterious. But it is definitely tipping the balance in favour of the musks, and it's still very recognisably Alien. But if you find that you can't take Alien because it's maybe just a little bit too strident, the jasmine note is just too strong, too shrill, too weird, you might find this one interesting, as long as you don't mind trying to pull off really, really heavy, weighty, woody musk materials. And this actually is quite dirty too. I'm just going to compare with the Saffron that we started this with. No, that's not it. saffron, by the way, is now becoming very, very, very cumin-like. Curious. But the saffron from Zegna must also have a lot of very, very, very woody musks in the base, very powerful, sticky, woody musks. And this Alien is not a million miles from it at all. But the Alien, of course, has that dirty floral infection coming from the jasmine, whereas the Persian Safran from Zegna stays drier because its star material is the saffron. So again, perhaps this Alien might be an interesting feminine counterpoint to the saffron, although I think there will be loads and loads of men wearing this Alien flanker, because it isn't stereotypically feminine in any way whatsoever. I'm not sure I actually have any official material on this one. I will just have a quick look just so that we can see what... Oh no, I do have something. This one is an invitation to travel on a journey that highlights and enhances musk, one of the noblest ingredients in perfumery. The Oriental woody musk composition is developed by Dominique Ropion, who also obviously had a huge hand in making the original Alien, so that it retains the signature notes of Alien, like sambac jasmine and cashmere wood, adding white musk enhanced by sensual vanilla, together with a mixture of spices and saffron. Okay. Now, I lied. This isn't the last one, because there is just one perfume that I would actually like to end with. And I'll again make this really, really quick, like I did with the Diptyque. Thank you to Bloom Perfumery in Covent Garden for this sample. Now, this is from the brand Zoologist, that some of you may be aware of. Each of the perfumes named after a different animal. If you fancy wearing a perfume called Rhinoceros, let me know. But the one that I would just like to smell in front of you here is called Bat. Have any of you out there smelt Bat yet? It's been around for a little while now, so it's not brand new by any means. But it is, without question, the weirdest thing I have smelt this year. And I'm actually almost scared to smell it. You know how a lot of people have this thing about Sécrétion Magnifique from Atelier d'Orange? You know, they can't get too close to it because it just makes their stomach turn. Bat is... Let me tell you, if you had smell-o-vision, you would be wanting to turn your smell volume down now. But as an example of creative perfumery, it is extraordinary. So here we go, ladies and gents. Bat from Zoologist. Ah, thank you very much, Frederick. Yes, Bat by Ellen Covey, a great nose from Seattle. Yeah, and I'm already getting... I'm getting batified. Oh my god, this stuff is so bizarre. And so hard to describe. I wish... If we just take it step by step. The name for this perfume is genius, because I could totally imagine that a place in which a bat lives, in other words, a damp, dank, scary, eternally dark, moisture-dripping cave or cellar or something, would smell exactly like this. Back in the 80s and 90s, when I used to go to Poland every summer and stay at my grandmother's flat in Warsaw, every now and then she would have to go to the cellars, the piwnica, underneath this 15-story building, and it was a very kind of, I suppose, rough kind of place. Everybody had their own kind of little compartment in the cellar space, but it was one of the scariest places for me to go to as a kid. You had to go carrying this torch. It has since been done up and it's got fantastic lights everywhere and it's all been painted, but back in the 80s and 90s it was quite a grim kind of place, and it smelt like this. This is... Yes, this is the smell of moisture and mold and animals that want to reach out in the night and bite your neck. It completely, by the way, also makes me think of the Francis Ford Coppola movie, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Seeing you looking for words in order to explain your experience is pretty amazing, somebody says. I'm glad you're enjoying it, because finding words to describe bat is quite a challenge. And actually smelling... But what was I saying about Bram Stoker's Dracula? Have you seen Bram Stoker's Dracula? One of the most operatic portrayals, renditions of the Dracula story. But you smell bat, and you just think Gary Oldman in one of those crazy outfits from that movie is just going to leap out at you and turn you into one of the undead. Because this stuff is just crazy. There is something loamy about it, definitely earthy and metallic. It is actually metallic as well. It's got a kind of metallic sheen, almost as though there's a kind of strange silvery fungus that's grown over this pond water or weed. Or Angeline is asking whether these are simply scent projects or are they meant to be worn. I think they're totally meant to be worn. Frederic is saying Dracula with some bananas. Banana. I'm loving these comments. Okay, I'll go along with banana, but surely black, horrible, disgusting, rotten bananas that you don't actually want to go too near. Now Dracula wouldn't have been anywhere near so threatening, wouldn't he, if he'd sort of turned up munching on a banana before descending upon your neck. I'd like to see that movie, Dracula the Banana Man. But no, Angeline, they are totally meant to be worn, and I know that there are some people who feel that bat is a kind of standard that they can aspire to. You know, they sort of walk into a shop and they say, right, hit me, I'm ready for bat, I can take it now. Very much like Etat Libre Sécrétion Magnifique, which some people see as a kind of rite of passage, and they think that they've kind of, you know, graduated to a higher plane of perfume enlightenment, and they can wear this. I would think twice about wearing bat unless I wanted to make a certain sort of impression. But there is no question that it is genius perfumery, because it holds together and it creates this striking, evocative image so well. It seems to actually turn the very space around you darker, and I'm sort of looking at the wall opposite me and thinking, why am I not seeing mold covering this entire wall? Because surely suddenly everything in my whole world has become dank and dark and dangerous. So if you want to see the kind of, if you would like to experience the kind of bizarre stuff that perfumery is capable of, and actually if you fancy wearing something really, really different on skin to see how your skin might react to it, or, and I don't mean react to it as in, you know, maybe you might turn into Dracula, how you might react to it in terms of enjoyment, then do check out bat, because there isn't a lot of stuff out there like this. You will not find anything like this in the mainstream. Phew! I think on that note I should head back into my cave and find Winona Ryder and see if she fancies a spot of dinner. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully the video will be up on my Facebook page within a few moments, and then after a few days, once I've had a little bit of time, I shall also post it on YouTube. If there is anything that you see here that I didn't cover that you'd like me to cover next time, please let me know. Please, 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 if you feel so inclined, give me a little thumbs up or a heart or a smiley face or any kind of reaction. Absolutely leave a comment after the live stream has stopped, because I will try to answer all the comments as soon as I can. And thank you very much for watching. See you next time.